excited today to introduce Kim Morgan, the Managing Director of Property Management at Stream Realty Partners. Kim, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Well, Kim, I want to jump right in. You've got a couple decades of experience as a property manager, property managers. How has that industry and discipline changed over your time being involved in it?
Oh, that is a great question. First, you made me sound very old when saying 2 decades, so that was not right. But I understand because it's true. I would say the biggest change is the management of going from managing men to women. So when I started back in the very early 2000s, all of my managers, all of the directors were male. And over the years, probably especially in the past 10 years, I would say, that has been a complete shift to almost all property managers are female. Most directors are female for the most part. And then when you get to that C-suite of asset management and executives, that it's still somewhat dominated by men.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And we see that in our business. Many or most of our users are women. That's interesting. That's a more recent phenomenon. I'm curious a little bit on how expectations of property managers have changed. And maybe that's pre-pandemic, maybe that's with technology, maybe that's as a result of the pandemic. But from when you started your career, what it was expected of a property manager to now, how that role is seen in the broader ecosystem of commercial real estate.
There's a couple of aspects to that. I think one, let's start with technology. When I first started, we were using a MRI, which is one of our accounting softwares that is still around, but it was in DOS. We literally had floppy disks. That's how old it was. And now, obviously, literally we can do almost anything and everything on our cell phones. So that's one aspect of the technology. The second aspect of the technology specifically, though, is access to the property manager and to our clients and our tenants, being that cell phones were not around when I started. And when they came on board, I'd probably say 3 or 4 years after I'd started in property management, where all managers were required to have cell phones, that completely changed the game. Because before that, we all worked 8 to 5 jobs. And you didn't have to worry about someone trying to call you after hours typically, because all they were going to get was your home phone. Let's think about that. How many of us have home phones? I know I don't. I have a cell phone. That's it. I have a cell phone and a work phone. That's it. So that has really changed the connectivity between us and our clients, especially, and then also with our tenants in our buildings. So where we went from more of a 8 to 5 type of time frame of working, now it's you're 24 hours because everyone has 24 access to you. That's definitely a big change, I think, over the years that I've seen, that it's for the good and for the bad, I think, to a certain extent. Obviously, the good is that your clients and your tenants have access to you, so you always know what's going on literally every moment of the day. But I think that also creates an unsteady work-life balance that we don't have anymore, in all honesty. I don't know very many managers that could say that they have a very positive work-life balance in their lives right now.
I think something we always hear, and I want to pick up on both of those threads, is that technology is there to make lives simpler. At least that's the banner for technology. It sounds like maybe that happens in some ways and it doesn't in others. When you think about the role that technology plays for you and for your teams, where does it sit on that spectrum? Is it allowing you to just be more busy because there's more work to do, or is it actually saving time and giving you back hours in the day?
Yes, to both of those, I would say. The positive of technology is that it does make you more efficient. There's no question about that. So the days of filling out a lease abstract by hand is gone. Thank goodness for that. Having to do all of your budgets in Excel is really gone. You don't have to do that because there's so many type of accounting softwares that you can use that literally you can take the Excel document and you can input it into a software that anyone and everyone has access to, where before it was just you had access to it, and then you've got to save it, put it on a floppy disk or put it on a disk or put it on a thumb drive, and you're giving it to someone else. So in a lot of cases, it's made things much simpler and more efficient. But again, at the same time, I think it does cause you to go, okay, now this process only takes me 5 minutes where it literally used to take me an hour. So now they just keep compiling more things onto your plate of tasks that should be able to get accomplished within that time frame because of the technology.
One more on the technology side, something that I've seen, and it's amazing as I've come to learn the industry, there are so many commercial real estate tech, prop tech, softwares, businesses out there. When you think about actually implementing these things, and so maybe it's you have to be judicious of when you do, how you vet them. But I've got to imagine for the people that have been in the industry that are working in the front line, so to speak, it's a tremendous amount of work to learn something new and to change process. And at the same time, we're looking at this inevitable wave of technology is coming and it's influencing the way we work. How have you thought about expanding, changing, adding new technologies over time and when the right time to do?
It's so hard to answer that question. And here's why, because there's so many different generations that work within our industry. So we have like our property administrators are coming straight out of college. So they have all the tech knowledge in the world. They can literally sit down on a laptop. You can show them software. They're going to figure it out so much faster and easier than someone that's 35 and up. And especially a 45 and up like myself, it's a little bit more challenging because we're so used to working in the software programs that we're used to working in. So even that transition that I had from MRI DOS to just MRI Windows was a feat. Thankfully, I was still like in my early 30s where I could still figure it out and had the patience to figure it out. So I think that transition that you keep having of implementing new software to make you more efficient, to make your life easier, can also somewhat backfire on the older generation because we're just not used to so much change so quickly. Like before it was, if you're in MRI DOS, it's going to be around for 5 or 10 years. Now, literally, they're updating software every year. So you're always learning something new. So it gets a little cumbersome, I think, for a lot of people, and it can get frustrating. I think it's for the best, of course, because I do think it makes us way more efficient and productive. But at the same time, I think it can be frustrating for some of the more senior people in the industry because they're just not used to having so much change so quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Something I think of is just imagining someone who's sitting there learning new software and saying, hey, isn't my job supposed to be managing tenants? I'm learning software.
Very true. We had that conversation in one of our directors meetings not too long ago. And one of the directors who is slightly older than, I think he's probably in his early 60s. He's like, okay, I just want to manage my people. I don't know what all these software changes are. This is ridiculous, but this is part of our job now. We're having to make sure that we have the proper software to help our new people that are coming into this industry be more effective and efficient.
I'd like to move to the second thing you mentioned, which was the greater accessibility between tenants, managers, everyone in the system. And how the last year and a half has thrown a wrench into that. I imagine for certain managers, that access is fundamental to the job. And all of a sudden, people aren't physically occupying spaces, office buildings are empty, the Wall Street Journal is talking about the death of office, and it happens like that. How have you thought about that personally? How have you managed the team through that? What are some of your observations from that period?
It was very difficult for our office managers. Industrial and retail, they're not on site typically, and they don't have day-to-day interaction with their tenants on a regular basis. So I think they probably handled it so much better than our office managers did because they're used to having people in the office. They're used to having people come into their management office to ask them questions, dealing with security, dealing with janitorial. So all of our work orders scaled down to almost nothing. So you're honestly then trying to find things to do outside of account. So one, you have to get way more creative of, okay, so what can we do to fill these 8-hour days when you're not on site? You have no tenants to talk to, but the work still has to get done. So you get a little creative in regards to, okay, maybe now it's the time to clean out files. So we're going to be more efficient, right? We're going to be more organized, and it gives you the time to do that. It's a great time during the pandemic for training because everyone's at home and most don't have a whole lot to do. So it's that time, let's go through budget training. Let's go through CAM training. Let's talk about utility trackers, those type of things. And it seems such a little thing, but when you have a lot of new people or younger people that are in the industry, this is the perfect time for them to learn and grow within the industry without all the distractions of the tenants.
Yeah, that's a great and opportunistic way of looking at it. We've tried to do the same thing, which is, hey, if the industry is slow right now, new business is slow, in your world tenants aren't there, what else can we do? And the harder you look, there are still things to do.
There's always, that's the beauty of property management, is that there's always something for you to do. Trust and belief.
As you think about coming out of this thing, and I know depending on markets, you're in Atlanta, I was just in Texas recently, things seem to be coming back. How do you think about going forward? What are you paying attention to that gives you confidence that we're turning the corner in terms of tenants returning to the office and things turning the way we'd like them to?
One, obviously, is just occupancy. Like, we're starting to see an uptick in occupancy. One of our buildings here, typically we have anywhere from 800 to 1,000 people in the office. And obviously during the pandemic, there was literally no one at all. And now we're up to about 300 people a day, which is a huge increase, obviously, from even just 3 months ago or from the end of last year. It's made a complete shift. So we definitely see the occupancy going up. And then additionally, we're reaching out to our tenants going, hey, especially our larger, denser tenants, because those are the ones that left first and like never wanted to come back to the office anytime soon until the pandemic was completely gone away. So now we're talking to them and saying, hey, are you thinking about coming to the office? Are you rotating in? Are you doing like an A and B group? Are you doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday versus Tuesday, Thursday? Giving them options so that we can get them back into the office, because it does benefit us. One, we want our tenants in the building. And two, it also is a revenue generator for us, right? The more people coming into the building, the more parking revenue that we're going to get as well. So it behooves us to ask those questions and also to make sure that we're prepared for when they do come back, to make sure everything is ready. So I think that's been the biggest thing. And I think what we've seen, especially here in Atlanta and in Texas, because we have markets in both those areas, is literally Texas and Georgia were the first states to reopen. I can honestly say I have yet to be in an office building where anyone's wearing a mask unless it's for just personal preference, not as a requirement. I just went to my gym on Monday and Tuesday, and the sign was still up that said mask required. When I went back on Wednesday morning, the signs were gone. And I was like, yes, we're back to normal. This is amazing. So I'm definitely seeing the light at the end of the tunnel in regards to the whole pandemic and people just getting back to normal.
I'm curious, and I'm sure our listeners will be, from some of your larger tenants, or maybe just tenants in general, are you observing distinct groups in terms of how they're thinking about returning from, yes, we're returning 5 days a week, we're never coming back, we're going to get out of it? Like, are there things that are emerging that seem to be trends, or is it still chaos?
It's very distinct. So medical, been back. They were like, as soon as they could get back into the office, they were back. And some never closed because they couldn't, right? As first responders, like our ENT clinics, those type of things. And then I would say attorney, accounting firms, they're always trying to get their people back into the office as quickly as possible. Tech companies, extremely slow in bringing their people back, which is, I think we all know the answer to that. One, because they're extremely dense. And second, which I think we all knew was coming, like 10 years ago, we saw this, they're realizing that they don't need all that office space, that half of them can work from home and have like transitional desks for everyone, hotel desks, if you will. So 2 people share one desk and then they just rotate either 1 week or every other day or something of that nature. And so that's, I think, funny enough, when you mentioned everybody thinking that the office market had just gone kaput, we knew internally that wasn't going to happen because people still want that synergy of being in one office, wanting that camaraderie of everyone sitting together and collaborating in person. And you definitely start to lose that through Zoom and Teams calls. There is literally a major, what's it called, Zoom fatigue that is so real. It's crazy. So I think what they're finding is, yes, we're going to come in slowly but surely, but we're definitely surely coming back.
I'd love to hear that. As someone that's in tech, but also Definitely misses the in-person collaboration. That's great to hear. I'd like to move to a different topic. You mentioned the multiple generations in commercial real estate. And you also mentioned the demographic changes, particularly, I think you mentioned gender. If you were speaking to younger people who are thinking about entering the space and advising them on how to navigate this kind of traditional industry, it has multi generations, tech is coming, but it's not quite here. What are some of the things that you would advise them on navigating the space and where to go?
Be open to change at all times is number one. Because one, just property management in general, the nature of property management, no day is ever the same. So you're always going to have something that's going to change on you. So you have to be flexible. You have to be nimble. You have to just go with the flow. I always tell people that are coming into this industry for like our property administrator positions, which is our entry level position, if you're looking for something where you have a day-to-day task list and you're just checking boxes, this industry is not for you. You will go completely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs if you do that. It will not work. You have to be that person that accepts that you will create your task list of 10 things and maybe 2 of them will actually get checked off by the end of the day. But you're going to feel accomplished because something has gone on that you've had to work on that was so big and amazing and different than day before yesterday that it's going to be like, okay, I still have 8 things on my to-do list plus the new things for tomorrow, but I got something done. So it's a give and take on what type of personality you really have. Are you just a problem solver and it doesn't matter how it comes and how, or do you need that very much in the box, this in orderly? Because that just does not exist in property management. And I think once you figure out what type of person you are, it makes it much easier. Obviously, more seasoned managers have figured out that I always call it the cray, and you have to be a little bit cray to be in the cray. So if you accept that you have that cray and you crave the cray, then you're going to do exceptionally well in this industry and you'll be around forever. But not everyone is really into that. So I always tell young people that you really need to know yourself and what you really enjoy and what motivates you. If you have that servant's heart, you're going to do exceptionally well here. If you are a problem solver, you're going to do exceptionally well here. But you don't have to be a genius in math, because I am the furthest from that. I can do 1 + 1, I can do a little bit division, and then I start using my cell phone and a calculator. So it's really about just being a people person and wanting to help people truly and being a problem solver. And if you can do those core things, you will succeed completely. You will be fabulous. And I think, honestly, women are made for this position. Like they're made for this career. I was able to raise 2 children during my time as a property manager and never missed a field trip. I was always able to be home with my kids when they were sick. I got to be a good mom, not a full-time worker and a kind of okay mom, which really tried to get me where I'm trying to get there, but I'm not going to make it because I have a meeting. The beauty of property management is it's so flexible. And it's just that untapped industry that women truly do excel at because we're able to multitask. We have just innate that caring personality, that caring feeling inside of us that men are just like straight down the narrow, just get the job done. And women are just more nurturing. It's just fact. It's the way that we're created, right? When you add all of those things to who we are just as females, this is like the perfect position for us, the perfect industry for us to be great managers and leaders and also be able to be a great parent.
That's amazing and profound. The last sort of question I'll ask, I know you're in some leadership positions outside of just your day-to-day job at IREM and other things. What are your hopes for the future of commercial real estate, broadly speaking, outside of just property management?
Broadly, I would say I want to see more diversity and inclusion. When I started in the very early 2000s, I was the only person that looked like me. I was a small little Black lady. And there literally in every office that I would go to, there was only me, period. In leasing, in property management, in brokerage, Every single market I went to, every single company that I had been at, I was always the only one. And I don't understand. And so I really took the time to try to understand where that was coming from. And what I realized is it's opportunity, and it's just putting that opportunity into someone's hands, like letting them know that this actually exists. Most people in general, regardless of gender, ethnicity, just don't know that commercial property management even exists. They know residential, but they don't know commercial. So a lot of it is just exposure. And so I really have taken it upon myself, being the highest level Black person in property management in my company right now, to heart, where I put myself out there because I want other people of color to see that there is someone in leadership that looks like them, that wants to help them, that wants to foster them, that wants to mentor them to get them to that next level. And so I take that very personal. I take that very seriously, because I think when you have full diversity in any environment, it makes for a better environment. When you just have all like-minded people, you start to lose something in that. And I don't want that to get completely lost within my office or any other company for that matter. I think it's very important.
I couldn't agree more. And from an Indian American man on one side to you, that's here to that. Kim, thank you so much for the time on a Friday, and look forward to speaking again soon.
Thank you. Take care.